What? Your Richi from Rougen TCG is evolving! Congratulations! Your Richi evolved into, well, it's still kind of Richi, just a bit more appealing to look at. Hey, this is Richi here from Rougen TCG, and today it's time I step my game up. I have a funky, fresh new bundle of character stills with my name on them. Literally. Oh, apparently I also got a new drum set. Moving swiftly forward to the past. See, Rougen's first official set is now unofficially complete. There's room for improvement for how I've shown these cards off though, so I'm going to do my due diligence and go through every single one of the 63 cards added to Rougen Desperado West. Starting now, wait a second. There's a couple of cards I need to address first. You mind helping out, Vlad? What about Cozy Camp? I'll snuff it out. It's just stats without a doubt. What about the Gold Rush at Rushed Away? It's just stats. It's just okay. What about Boom Crawler Worm? That too. No effect that it can do. What about Trolley Scarecrow? Targeted, but no effect. It's bargain bin. What about Wonder Merchant? Cute, I guess. It's a card with no effect. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, here are some cards that have something to say. Bandita is a 4/5 rare creature card that becomes a 0/1 hostage until next turn if attacked. This card's wording bites. If I could do it again, I'd specify that she's returned to the deck when she's replaced, and is only returned to the field if the hostage survives. Bank Robbery is a common full effect that puts 2 hostages onto the field. Then next turn, you overdraw however many hostages you have. This card's essential if you're trying to run hostage. It's the second best way to get hostages onto the field next to Trusty Deputy. I guess technically Dag Nabbit could be better, if only because it's free? Hard to say for certain. Body of the Lifetaker. A common creature with no attack but 8 defense that has to be targeted for attack before everything else on your field. When this creature takes damage, it gains 2 defense, essentially forcing your opponent to sit there and wait while only you have all the fun. I've called this card a tech card before, and I think that still holds true. Booze! Please don't take that audio clip. Let's focus on this 3/1 creature that subtracts 2 attack from any creature it gets into a fight with. A part of the Pick Your Poison microtype with the sole intention of nerfing a particularly strong opposing card to a more manageable level. It's not removal or a tech card, it's more like an optional swing card that can set 2 attack cards with high health to 0. I've never seen it used like this, but it's also technically a tech card against Legendary Blade, because it deals 3 damage and also subtracts 2 attack. I really gotta hit this B. Bucking Bronco is a common effect card that returns all your cosplayed creatures to your hand. The obvious choice is to reactivate an effect that you like that works on cosplay. You can also use this card to return a creature to your hand, helping you return to its base defense if it's about to be graved. But all in all, it's a relatively intuitive card. Burly Miner is a common 3/3 with a particularly uncommon effect. That being, while it's on the field, you know which your opponent will draw next. To be fair, so did they. It's an albeit gimmicky card to find out your opponent's strategy before they have time to beat you in the face of it. Its unreliable nature has led to an unsubstantial amount of play. Cargo Caravan, like all the other caravans, has no attack and 5 defense, plus the effect that it must be targeted first before anything else on your field. Also, when it's damaged, your on-field creatures get +1/+1. Clearly, this card is meant to disincentivize your foe from hitting you with Death by 1,000 Paper Cut style, with Steaming Wrath, Hostage, or Corrupt Dragon, but don't forget you can also hit yourself with 1,000 Paper Cuts when you play a Caravan. Actually, now's a good time to talk about the rest of the Caravans while they're still fresh in my head. Those being Kaboom Caravan and Hostage Caravan. Kaboom Caravan deals 1 damage to all enemy creatures when it gets hit, and Hostage Caravan, unsurprisingly, makes a hostage when it's hit. My intention with these cards was never to have them played in the same deck. They all serve wildly different purposes. In fact, Cargo Caravan wants to be hit by Kaboom Caravan. Hostage Caravan will be completely invalidated by it. Chaos, Chaos, Chaos. Flip 5 coins. For every heads, both players gain 3 points of life, and for every tails, lose 3. What a nightmare of a card. Imagine you're playing a game with some jokester who wants nothing more than to make you cantankerous. He starts turn 1 with 2 copies of this card in your hand, and he smiles a dastardly smile. Playing 1, 4 tails, 1 head. You're both at 11 points of life. Turn 1. He plays another. All tails. The fight is over and is a draw. Another option. You have 15 points of life and he has 2 and nothing to lose. He plays this card again. All tails. The fight is over and is a draw. This card is designed for rapscallions and small little gremlins who audibly giggle at their foe being frustrated. Corrupt Sheriff. What? A politician being corrupt? Who'd have thunk it? That's a common 2-attack, 5-defense creature that has the opposite of targeted. He has to be attacked last. And to be honest, I can't think of any exceptional roles that he fills, but he is harder to grave than usual. Curse 6-shooter simply reads, roll a 6-sided die. That many creatures get -1/-1 when placed onto the field. I should probably specify this effect works through multiple turns, on both player's turn, and the card itself is immediately graved afterwards. This card was designed by the livestream audience, so I can't be certain what the creator's idea behind it was, but I can say this card is difficult to play. You won't have any incentive to play it, but if you do, and if you don't intend to play any creatures, this card is probably one of the best cards for that style of play. Dagnabbit is 1 card for 100 million billion Undepra Condendasquillion hostage tokens. As long as your game goes for, let me just check my watch here, 1,000,000 years. Unfortunately, your opponent's goal, and only goal, is to not let that game go on. To be fair, that's actually your goal too, I hate to be the one to tell you. In my honest opinion, I don't think this card is good for anything but stall. But for stall, it's stellar, especially combined with the Ken Tome. To be fair, a lot of cards are made playable only by the Ken Tome, so we probably shouldn't make that our barrier for playability. Damsel in Distress. She plays out 2 hostage tokens, right? And then she has to be attacked first. If you value playing hostages, maybe you have Old Jailer on the field or the like, this card's a great way to give your foe's creatures a place to beat up that isn't your hostages. It's also a great card for stall, swarm-style specs, or just stats. It's pretty much an awkward 2/4 defense creature with targeted. Deadeye is a card I cannot believe I decided to make. By itself, it's not very strong. It's, Jeez, what's that word kids are saying right now? Based? No. For things they think are mediocre, but they can't spell the word mediocre. You mean mid? Thank you. This card remains mid until you have 2 on the field, in which case it promptly becomes based. You don't know what either of those words mean. Moving swiftly forward to Drop Dead Canyon, a card that puts you through the 5 stages of grief when you read it. Denial. Oh, this card can be used to stop refreshing bartender and varmint or something. Anger. Why is it only when I play this card that the opponent isn't running anything silly? They're just beating me. Bargaining. I'm just getting bad matches for this deck. The second that I get something that isn't running Twister or Big Crunch or Eldorado or any non-gray related deck, I'll be in the money. Depression. I got everything I wanted and they just didn't care. Acceptance. This card's bad. Interesting, but bad. Duel. You and your opponent both lose a creature, but you get to pick which of your creatures you lose. A safe card, but very slow. It has its uses, and would be functional if it wasn't a full effect. What I mean is, full effects have a much higher power cliff than other cards because of how big of a sacrifice not being able to afford a creature per turn is. It's not quite as good as the good full effects like Dust Bowl. Anyways, the card next up alphabetically is Dust Bowl, also known as the card of my dreams and nightmares. The amount of time I've looked at 2 other cards in my hand and my Dust Bowl in my head and went, gotcha, like I'm in a James Bond movie, are more than enough to justify me calling this my favorite Desperado West card. Eldorado is also a live stream card, but this time it isn't a situational dumpster fire. When this card's in your hand, it's difficult to not find uses for it. Almost certainly if you wait another turn, your opponent's gonna, play cards. It's pretty much a matter of how long you're willing to wait before you beat the punk on the other side of the field to a pulp, alongside your own points of life, but that's the good kind of pain. Fortune Teller. It's as simple as it is complex. It isn't. What? You overdraw 1 next turn. It's a really simple effect, and I just wanted to have something to say. Wait, next is Gambling Man! Gambling Man's my favorite, interesting, unique, creative, bad, powerful, well-drawn, unplayable, flavorful, silly, awful card. I recommend always never playing this guy. Oh, next card's just meta-defining, who cares? Guns A-Blazing is the only card that does what it does. It's so good at what it does, it's pretty much a deck list by itself. When you play this card, which is free play, your opponent just takes 1 direct damage. Then you put this card back into your deck. Not much more needs to be said, other than if you and your foe are playing a game and you have this in your deck, the game will never be a draw. Gunslinger is Lone Star's confused brother. He's even got his attack and defense stats backwards while trying to copy him. He doesn't know what he's doing. Is he lost? Probably. Is he bad? Probably not. 4/6. He takes 1 extra damage when he takes damage. Why does this card exist? You drew it, dude. I know. The question was addressed to me. High Noon's text is as strange as it is difficult to read. Essentially, creatures must attack if able for the next 3 turns. While this card is on the field, you may also choose to attack your own creatures. It was designed with exactly 2 plays in mind. 1, you play Peacekeeper and force your foes to, as Salvador Dali said, devour each other. Or you play this card and one attack creature and a Caravan, and you min-max it as best you can. These 2 or 3 card combinations aren't really what makes a Rougen deck strong, but that's not to say they don't or won't have a use in the future. Lassoer plays a 0/1 hostage token for every enemy creature, and then this card gains +1 attack for every hostage you have. One of the few hostage cards that has opponent interaction. This card doesn't help your hostages help it. Lifetaker of the West is one of the 3 legendary cards from Rougen Desperado West. And,
I'll take it from here.
Cards don't talk!
They don't slap either. Ahem. I am a legend. With the effect, all your puny 0-attack creatures become a carbon copy of moi. Every Caravan, every shoddy scarecrow, and of course, every hostage. I can turn your board from lost to unlosable. Keep that in mind when you pick your friends. Friend.
Anyways, Liquid Courage is another bottle of liquor with a face, this time with a slightly less powerful effect but higher stats. Swap the attack and defense of a creature it fights or is fought by. Its 6 attack means it'll probably grave whatever it's aiming for, but if it doesn't, say like it has a lot of health or even better 0 attack, that means that it just makes them a different stat line entirely or graves them outright. Lone Star is at least half decent, I think? Objectively pretty good stats, subjectively pretty bad effect. 6/4 that turns all your creatures into hostages. I'm not sure why you would play this unless it was your only card on the field. But you can. Manifest Destiny is the Desperado West card. For all intents and purposes, it seems I have a nasty habit of making 1 card per set that just completely forces a deck list. That card in Evergreen was the Kentome, that card in Desperado West was Manifest Destiny. Read its effect, think, and look at the other cards in the game, and you'll find out why. Mess with the Bull is probably one of the more obviously designed cards I've made for creature lists. A deck list which, so far as I can tell, doesn't actually exist. It's Broken Clock if Broken Clock was broken, clocking in at 4/4, which is pretty strong for an effect card, namely because they're typically attack and defenseless. If you get punched in the face with this card in your hand, you get a 4/4 token. It's as simple as that. Mirage is a card that's just nice, right? You'll be looking at your board all woeful-like, and it's just like a nice refresher. You punch some opposing foe and restore whatever was damaged on it, and then you just have an all-around soothing experience. It's just nice. It's just refreshing. Moonshine is another pick your poison card that's the weakest and strongest simultaneously. The worst stats I've ever seen that are mediated by the fact that it halves the attack and defense of any would-be attackers or victims. Don't drink and fight, kids. Just don't do either of those things, period. Nah, you should fight. Children falling over is hilarious. What is wrong with you? Mummification is the only sloth-based burn removal mummy effect card colored purple in any card game. I didn't check, but there's no way, right? It's as simple as it is bad. I made this card as a joke. If you manage to win a game with this card in your deck, I'll congratulate you in a video, publicly, as long as you and your opponent agree that it happened. Ne'er-do-well, not every hostage card even creates or affects hostages, you see? Some, like moi, just free play, and well, that's actually about it. For one, it's not surviving if it hits a creature that matters. It's a card you play to swarm and only to swarm. Old Jailer is bad until it's good, and then it's good until it's very good. Sometimes it's good when it's bad, but it's never bad when it's good. Richi, when you play it by itself, it's bad. That's the bad, never good part. Whenever you play it, even with 1 hostage, it becomes good and only gets better. Sometimes you play this card and have it be bad, then retroactively play a hostage card and it becomes good. Make sense? My brain is like the scrambled eggs. So business as usual, eh, Flatty Boy? Point Miner, a 2/4 card that makes the first effect you play per turn a free play. I don't have a term for this kind of card, and maybe it doesn't exist, so for now on, I'm just going to call this type of card an adequately balanced non-archetype creature. An Abnac. The type of creature you don't really think about that much. It has its use and does it well, but they don't usually strengthen any powerful deck lists. Other examples of this, Abnacs include Prideful Gladiator, Evolving Prey, and Rattler, an Abnac 4/1 that gains free play if an enemy creature was graved last turn. Mediocre. You wouldn't be upset to see it in a pack, but it's not really that great of a card, is it? Problem Solver solves problems. Practical problems. Like a big cowboy that wants to batten down your hatches. He's targeted. Or a germ the size of the Lone Star State that wants to put you in permanent medical leave. Negate its effect. Or the problem of wanting a 0-attack creature to turn into a 4/2 with the Lifetaker of the West. Solved. Refreshing Bartender. Ever wanted to have 2 decks instead of the usual 1? Then this card is right for you. Unless you're facing Rushdown or Midrange. Then this card will just sit in your hand. Too slow to play, but too important to replace. There are times I really lose games I should have won because I was worried about having no cards to play, so I played Refreshing Bartender too early. It's Patience, the card. Roll the Bones is only going to become better and better the more cards that involve dice that I make. Any early adopters are just bracing for impact. That's all that needs said. Snake Charmer is a really long effect that reads, put 3 cards in your foe's deck. While they're in their deck or hand, you can select 1 card in their hand to reveal every turn. When you reveal a snake token, play a 3/3 snake token on your field. It does what Burly Miner does, put in the hand, and it does what Mess with the Bull does, just slower and more. Spirit of the Lifetaker. The Ghost of Christmas Shootouts over here's whole goal is to waste your opponent's time. This was one of 2 cards that I've ever had to wholly change the effect of, so you know it's pretty good at that job. Stampede is a full effect that just deals 10 damage. If it's more than enough to kill it, then the rest of the damage goes on to another creature, and so on and so forth until all the damage is dealt. This also obviously damages your creatures as well. It's really just in the game to deal with annoying cards that are hard to get rid of, like Old Jailer or Body of the Lifetaker. Steam Engine is another Abnac. Bonus points if you still remember what that stands for. This creature has 4 health and can't lose more than 2 health per turn. Honestly, it's a really interesting concept. If this creature gets hit with 1 for a turn, it can take 2 more hits guaranteed. It's like Automato Crew if Automato Crew was, I don't know, more neato. Them's Fightin' Words is ridiculous. It doesn't even know what it's trying to be. Is it trying to be an anti-archetype card? Then why when you remove it does it try to help them? Is it a support card? Then why does it start negative? All of it is a headache. It's one of those cards that I'm pretty sure has some use that I could never consider. We'll see later on, I suppose. Tornado Summoner is like the better version of Gunslinger in almost every way. The problem that arises is you can't really do anything if your foe has a creature. Still though, in most situations you'd prefer to have a Tornado Summoner, if only for how fantastic 9 health is and how much better it is to have 5 attack than 4. One-shotting Caravans really does matter. Tumbleweed isn't a card. It's a dream. It's an aspiration. It's an idealistic rendition of an authentic erudition that exemplifies an especially sophisticated art of absurdist simplicity Rougen accentuates within its core tenets. All in all, it's unplayable. Really, just try to make this card work. I haven't found a method yet. Twister is a silly little card that in almost all situations is downright dreadful. It's the worst kind of anti-fun in my opinion. Much like J. Robert Oppenheimer, I've come to regret my creation, because not only is it not a very good card in most cases, the cases that it is good in can completely shut down your opponent. It keeps me up at night. Varmint is a 2/1 free play that you can have 20 of. Varmint is good. No, it's not. Varmint is balanced. It's really not. I'm not biased. They're not that good. I don't want them to be good.
Yes, you do.
Moving swiftly forward, Vulture is an Abnac that actually has a use. It's even seen some play. When a creature dies, it gains +1 attack or defense. I'll give you a chance to think. Which deck list creates a bunch of 1 health creatures that are disposable and easy to get on the board?
Rats. Rats. Think about rats. Rats. Rats.
That's right!
Rats.
Hostage.
Ha! Gotcha.
Finally, we have Wanted Poster. This card is last alphabetically, but it almost makes me wish I hadn't gone alphabetically. This card is the effect version of an Abnac. An Abnay? It's okay. With the effect that it has, I would expect it to be free play. This card doesn't have that much influence on the field. If there's no creatures, then this is just a dead draw. Huh. What a mellow note to end on. Guess we'll just have to settle for an entirely new set of character stills, a new paragraph, a description of every single Desperado West card, the invention of the term Abnac, and a cute little song for this episode. That being said, I still don't have an outro! Tell you what, maybe I'll make an outro song. How about, ba ba Bippy Bo, this is the outro, ba... No, this just sucks. Forget it. Forget it.